Chosen one. Have you ever had the feeling that something unknowable was going to occur? As if the cosmos was waiting for you? It won't feel like another Monday at the beginning of the week. No, this Monday has been marked, inscribed like a hidden chapter that only heaven could write in your life's timeline. Those who are spiritually attuned will sense the rise of a divine atmosphere that is imbued with alignment, purpose, and breakthrough before it even starts. Is it possible that you have been unconsciously prepared for this moment? It won't need to be pursued. It won't need to be forced. You'll just find yourself immersed in it, as if your most fervent prayers were reflected in the scenario that is playing out around you. And not those you said aloud, but those you muttered in solitude, in sorrow, and in faith. There's a plot twist this Monday. There's something surprising coming out, something concealed by the curtain of delay. You are now entering your reality with courage. Put 777 in the comments now if you're feeling upbeat already. It's not just a figure. It serves as your code of confirmation for the upcoming heavenly alignment. I receive it, you say to the sky. I'm prepared. Before we continue, I would like to take a moment to express my gratitude to everyone who has responded to this message. Your kindness goes beyond simple assistance. It's a spiritual alliance. It gives this endeavor energy and illuminates areas where darkness has persisted for too long. Thank you very much, whether you have donated, prayed, liked, or just watched. You are an immeasurable blessing, and because of you, this community is stronger. Lean in now, though, for what follows will feel like a real-time prophecy. Behind the scenes, preparations are already underway to meet you where you are. The kind of interaction that changes your fate rather than just your day. Let's lift the curtain and enter what has been predetermined for you by God. The scene has been set. Now is the moment. And as God's chosen ones, you are the primary character in this unfolding divine activity. This Monday will resemble a motion picture. Music. Listen to it. You are about to go on an incredible journey as God's chosen one. On your calendar, this Monday is more than just another day. It is a spiritual development that has been planned behind the scenes of the visible world, a divine appointment. Every obstacle you've faced, including delays, detours, and disappointments, has culminated at this very moment. Do you sense the change in the air? Something stirring is occurring that doesn't seem to be a coincidence. For that reason, it isn't. It's not arbitrary. It is enlightening. For you, heaven has been writing a scene. It's not merely Monday. It is a moment of divine transformation, encased in everyday life. In the same way, Joseph was unaware that he would be crowned in the Pharaoh's palace on the day he was called out of prison. It's possible that you don't really understand what's happening behind the scenes for you. According to Genesis 41, Joseph made the journey from pit to palace in a single day. Would you be able to work that same redemptive shift on Monday? There's a sort of heavenly suspense, a growing cinematic force. Heaven is holding its breath as the lights go down and the curtain rises. Have you ever had the feeling that you've entered a scene from a movie for which you didn't try out, yet it somehow fits you like a glove? It's not luck. That is the authorship of God. This chapter was written by God long before you ever realized a narrative was being told. For years, this moment has been building. Through all the silent tears, all the prayerful nights, and all the times you waited when nothing made sense. The renowned painter and sculptor Michelangelo once said, "I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free," in response to a question about how he made marble masterpieces. What if God finally peels back the last layer this Monday, revealing the masterpiece he has been creating inside of you all along? It's not hype. It's sacred. It's not hyperbole. Prophecy is being fulfilled. The encounter you are going to have is not the product of pure luck. What was promised is now being revealed. I, the Lord will make it happen when the time is right, declares Isaiah 60:22. Is this the time you were supposed to be here? Pay attention to this message. Keep clicking. Avoid becoming sidetracked and losing a word that was meant to speak to your soul. Since it's more than just a video, it's a supernatural bridge that connects your previous location with the direction God is going to take you. Perhaps this message is a spiritual reminder to prepare yourself. In the comments section, write your most audacious, radiant, and unwavering goal after taking a big breath. Let the light shine on it. Charged with brave faith and full with hope, make it something that awakens heaven rather than only touching the ground. Use 777 as your heavenly confirmation number to seal it, a sign that you are prepared and in alignment. Recall that faith that dares to speak is met with divine favor. Radical belief, not wishful thinking, opens the floodgates of blessing. Furthermore, you're not just talking into thin air when you firmly state your purpose. You are directing a change in the spiritual climate. Now is the perfect moment to connect, subscribe, and ground yourself in this magnificent adventure if you haven't already. Consider this video as evidence that you are actively engaged rather than only watching. For this Monday isn't about short-term inspiration. A transformational alignment is at issue. A spiritual uplift that could completely alter your course, not simply your week. You aren't entering a scene. You're following your vocation. And that makes all the difference. There won't be another sunrise in a series of routine days on Monday. It is meant to be the point at which the remarkable starts to feel familiar rather than alien. When the seemingly unachievable becomes your new normal. Your calendar may have been more about surviving than succeeding. Your nights may have been filled with unanswered prayers, and your days may have reverberated with disappointment for too long. However, that time of year is changing. Your story's author is about to turn the page, and what follows will seem like a heavenly plot twist in a hitherto quiet script. Delay, but not denial, is what you have experienced. You have traversed valleys where the quiet seemed to overpower your sobs. Additionally, you have faced days that merged into weeks, during which the only advancement you could see was your continued existence. However, keep in mind Hannah's tale from 1 Samuel 1. For years, she was disregarded, and her suffering was ridiculed. However, Samuel, the prophet who would anoint kings, was born as a result of her fervent prayer to God. What if you were expecting a prophetic birth because of your long-term wait? Entering the stage of your life is something uncommon, and the holy tension is right here. You might not even be aware of how near the moment in your story where everything changes is. Is it possible that, while being inches away from your breakthrough, you are still oblivious to the divine cue that is about to be given? This season, you are not a supporting character. You are the main character that advances the plot. The journey God is writing through you has always been at the center of the story. The conflict, the strain, the quiet. They were never indications of desertion. They served as the foreshadowing and the setup. Like David, who stood before Samuel with his brothers, forgotten in the fields. There is a reason you have also been hidden, because no voice on earth can stop your name from being called when heaven plans for you to rise. You have never experienced a Monday like this one before. This morning won't be like the others. Today marks the arrival of a miraculous interruption. The talk that leads to doors swinging wide. The phone ringing with the message that changes everything. Doors that you shouldn't have been able to open. By earthly standards, no. But that's what makes God's hand so beautiful. A door that He opens remains open. We are reminded in Revelation 3:7 that no one can close what He opens. That's the kind of shift you sensed subtly developing, isn't it? Because you hurried or plotted your way into the room, it won't happen. The invitation was always on heaven's calendar, so it will happen. Because God never forgot the sacrifices, the tears, or the times you nearly gave up but persisted. Every nay, every delay, and every rejection wasn't punishment. The editing was amazing. God was molding your character to withstand the pressure of the future. Do you sense how the pressure has been building up to this point? The curtain is going to raise after much waiting, pruning, and pressing. The next chapter of your life is about to begin. The one when the light strikes you at the perfect angle, the story becomes inspirational, and the message becomes evident. In the same way that Job gets twice as much for his troubles after all of them. Will you also discover that the splendor of this upcoming chapter outweighs all of the suffering you have endured? What if everything feels different when you wake up on Monday? Clear, yet not confusing. It's almost unbelievable how perfectly aligned they are. The occurrences are too exact to be coincidences. The timing is too precise to be a coincidence. That's how divine storytelling feels. When God writes the scene, that is what occurs. You can't connect the dots looking forward. Even Apple's founder Steve Jobs famously remarked, "Even still, when you live by faith, occasionally those dots come together in front of your eyes. You can only connect them looking backward." You're going into a Monday like that, one that demonstrates how things were always supposed to come together. God is currently writing something that only you can complete. The spotlight is on its way to you, scouring the room. For assignment, not for attention. For effect, not for praise. You've been waiting. You said a prayer. You've persevered. Prepare now. Your feet have not yet entered the chambers where your name is being whispered. And the story takes a permanent turn on Monday. No human hand can stop what is going to happen in your life. No earthly system can destroy it, and no hostile strategy can taint it. It is a divinely sealed move. You've grown up in the quiet of spiritual obscurity, stood your stand throughout times of concealed progress, and sobbed private tears that no one saw. You were being prepped in private, while others were being praised in public. Now, however, the time of God has come, and the light that shines on you on Monday won't be a harsh spotlight. It will expose your goal with divine clarity and be a revealing light. This will not be a difficult chapter. It will be an elevated scene, similar to how the heavens opened as soon as Jesus was baptized in the Jordan. Matthew 3:16. It's your Jordan moment, a change that is so sacred and obvious that your spirit will see it before your eyes do. You'll notice something different in the air even as the morning dawns. The kind of calm that requires no explanation, since your spirit already understands what your intellect is only now starting to grasp. Have you ever woken up with a sense of purpose in the air, as though everything in the universe was bending toward you? That's on the horizon. Now a holy rhythm is quickening. Furthermore, it doesn't wait for fear or doubt to overtake it. It's proceeding whether or not you fully comprehend it. Because your comfort is not a determining factor in heaven's schedule. Like Esther, who entered the king's court unsure of her fate, or if it would result in her death, you are entering a moment that will test your bravery. Esther 4:14 was never merely a phrase in a time like this. That's the reason you've been silently ready for so long. There is a miraculous surge this Monday. Even while it can start out like any other day, things will have changed so drastically that your soul will never be the same by midnight. There could be an extraordinary surprise at the end of that typical morning. Perhaps the long-awaited news is delivered over the phone. Perhaps it's a message confirming what your spirit has been telling you. Alternatively, it can be a door that you knocked on months ago and forgot about, just to have it swing open with unnatural ease. How many doors have you left believing they were permanently closed, only to discover that God had been waiting for the right moment to clean the hinges? Renowned painter Vincent van Gogh continued to paint, despite being warned that his work would not be important. His works are now regarded as emotional and light-filled masterpieces? What if your years of invisible labor are finally recognized on Monday? For impact, not for glory. It was because God indicated it was time, not because people had a sudden change of heart. This Monday is going to be more than simply a date. It will be a lovely occasion. But you need to be emotionally stable, spiritually open, and aware of God's subtle ways if you want to completely receive what's coming. Don't allow other distractions to diminish the significance of this interaction. Don't let your skepticism to overpower your faith. The language of the miraculous is based on faith that doesn't falter. Therefore, you have to stay hopeful. Get ready for beauty in all its unexpected manifestations, not just blessings. Breakthroughs might not arrive in the forms you had in mind. They could show up as detours or interruptions. But these aren't barriers. They are responses. Responses to the silent prayers you spoke. The times you questioned whether heaven heard you and said, "If only." You were heard by God. He didn't just hear it either. He gathered every desire, every scream, and every hope for the future. Those prayers are now coming back to you in a different way. God Himself, the story's director, is urging you to take action. The camera is rolling. This act is about to reach its climax. Additionally, your involvement is no longer concealed. You're entering it headfirst with strength, clarity, and divine timing. What was once a silent hope in your heart is now being loudly expressed. If nothing else, those moments are suddenly becoming miracles. The stage is set, and the person you have chosen is about to enter the fulfillment that your story has always contained. This Monday marks more than just the beginning of a new week. It is the point at which the pain of waiting gives way to the wonder of seeing. Others may perceive the change as abrupt, but you will know deep down that it was never arbitrary. Like a seed emerging from the ground after a long winter, it has been steadily growing beneath the surface of your existence. This is not a coincidence, but divine timing. And you'll know, even if others call it luck. It's the faith you secretly planted that is now bearing fruit in the open. Have you ever questioned why, despite all the reasons to doubt your beliefs, your soul continued to hope? That's because what your eyes had not yet seen, your spirit could already perceive. Faith is now the substance of things hoped for, the proof of things not seen, as Hebrews 11:1 reminds us. Long before the world noticed, God was preparing something, and your faith has been the silent proof of it. And when that time comes, will you become more confident, or will you become more doubtful? Do not disbelieve in what you have prayed for. Don't discount your feelings just because they don't fit your expectations. Numerous rumors from your history are finally being transformed into official statements. Is it possible that the breakthrough was closest when you were on the verge of giving up? It won't be necessary to shout to be sacrosanct this Monday. You will not find God in fire, wind, or earthquake, as Elijah did in 1 Kings 19. You will be able to identify Him by the quiet, thin voice, the faint serenity that descends upon you like a timeless whisper. Have you ever noticed how sometimes the most significant changes start quietly? You are about to enter a shift like that. It's possible that you'll grin without knowing why. When people ask you what makes you unique, your spirit will know even if you don't have the words yet. There's a movement. There's a door open. Your name has been uttered by God in places you've never been. Alignment will feel natural after that. It happened because heaven did, not because of you. People who are spiritually conscious talk about these experiences even outside of the church. Think about the previous CEO of Starbucks, Howard Schultz. He was raised in public housing before establishing a well-known brand, and he frequently talked about how his modest upbringing inspired his ambition to establish a third place, a place where people feel protected and seen. In life, you can't connect the dots looking forward, he once remarked. Perhaps everything in your story, every detour, every silence, every delay, was a dot waiting to be connected by divine timing. You can only connect them looking backward. Doesn't that echo Romans 8:28, which states, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him"? What if everything falls into place on Monday? You don't have to control this situation. There is no need for you to perform. God Himself, the story's director, is urging you to take action. Additionally, your role is no longer in the background. Entering the divine rhythm that is already developing is what it is. Are you prepared to follow the path that God has already established? Psalm 37:23 states, "The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord." There won't be any noise when this miracle happens. It will undoubtedly but softly enter. And the recipient is you, the selected one. Are you going to be around to see it? When the Holy comes into the room, will you be able to tell? Let the story play out. Allow God's grace to lead you into the scene that He has already scripted. Nothing more can be forced. There's no need to hurry. The time is ideal. It has a wonderful beat, and all of it is for you. This Monday's arrival is not a hasty solution to a dire situation. Deep alignment leads to the blossoming of a divine recompense. You didn't get here by deceit. You didn't ascend by trampling on other people. Shortcuts weren't created in the dark by you. Rather, you waited, occasionally with trembling prayers and clenched fists. You stayed behind the curtain and watched others steal the show. And despite the pain, you remained silent and compliant throughout it all. Heaven is now honoring you because of this. This is not restitution. It's affirmative. You are not merely here. You are here because you synchronized with God's timing. Could this be your right time? Galatians 6:9 states, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." That everything that seemed to be quiet was actually a tactic. The scenario that lies ahead will resemble the dream you previously believed was too crazy to be spoken aloud. However, it won't feel like a dream. It will have a sense of calm, validation, and familiarity. Because this is not a man-made moment. It's God-read. Speaking to the right person in the right room with the right words will be your destiny. You won't be performing either. You will be in motion. Heaven doesn't adjust things at the last minute. Long before you knew there was ever a narrative being written, God had planned what is about to happen on His calendar. Yes, the winds of discouragement have borne down on you. The voices that told you you weren't noticed, selected, or enough have been heard by you. But you weren't defined by those seasons. You were purified by them. You've been forged in secret furnaces to become unbreakable. And now it's your turn. You cannot let this moment pass you by because of this. You are no longer fragile. Doubt is no longer a burden on you. You now move with holy permission and spiritual elegance. Since you are no longer attempting to fit into someone else's narrative, you are entering the scene this Monday with strength and calmness, with a serenity that bewilders pandemonium. You're entering the one that God intended for you. There will be a silent nudge in your soul that whispers, "Now, speak now, go now, say yes now." You have to answer when it occurs. Fear isn't that. Flow is that. It's when your spirit shouts yes before your head does, and heaven and earth finally align. Have you ever thought that all of the holdups, denials, and unanswered questions were just heaven waiting for a better time? That's what Monday is all about. There might be silence at first. At first glance, it can appear unremarkable. Don't be duped, though. Heaven frequently moves in silence before making its appearance. Consider those movie sequences where the city is motionless, the soundtrack is subdued, and everything appears to be at peace until the breakthrough occurs. That's how this Monday is feeling. A magnificent buildup, a sacred suspense, The spiritual strain eventually breaks, revealing what has been concealed. Those who walk patiently tend to reap the greatest rewards, even in the actual world. Think of Pope Francis, a modest man who served in Buenos Aires in silence for decades. He once remarked, "God is in the gentle breeze, not the storm." His sudden rise to fame came from surrender rather than ambition. What if your peaceful years were not a period of obscurity, but rather the setting for an undeserved moment of elevation? You're going to go through that moment, not as the center of attention, but as a change. Perhaps it's a flash. It may be a murmur. But when it does, it will feel like a soul window opening. It will feel like profound awareness, like tranquility that transcends comprehension, or like clarity in the midst of chaos. Could anything as minor as a single email, a chat, or an idea cause that change? Of course, because God frequently uses simplicity to conceal miracles. Don't ignore it. It's not a coincidence. That is the invitation, the cue that you are entering the narrative of your ascent in its entirety. You can now understand why the quiet seasons caused such deep bruises and why the shaping had to be so harsh. You weren't overlooked. You were shaped, honed, and trained for the role that only you can play. The version of you that started this adventure is not at all like the one who emerges on Monday. You've changed since last month. You're not the same person who sobbed last year, had doubts last season, or doubted everything. You have maintained your faith despite walking through fire. You have maintained your acclaim despite storms. You now possess a strength that is silent. A peace that doesn't shake is in your possession. Noise no longer affects you. You only react to the signal from God. This is just the start of your tale. This is when things start to get interesting. Your adventure has taught you a valuable lesson. The essential distinction between diversions and destiny is now clear to you. You don't have to enter this Monday worried because of this. You enter with high expectations. Anticipation is not foolish optimism. It's a mature faith. It is the chosen's way of thinking. You are no longer wishing blindly. You're not pacing the floor nervously. A promise that you didn't make is what you're waiting for. And you stand out for that. You are standing on an eternal surface. God never makes his promises in quiet. An atmosphere is carried by them. And your spirit senses the fulfillment first when it's near. Do you sense it right now? The alignments are occurring more quickly than your words can keep up with the accelerating tempo. It's heavenly acceleration. According to Deuteronomy 28:2, if you obey the Lord, your God and chosen one, all these blessings will come upon you and overtake you. The blessings that once seemed delayed are now chasing you down, not because of your striving, but because of your obedience. Even if you don't know all the specifics of what's coming, something inside of you already knows that the time has come. God often awakens your instincts before he unveils the scene, so don't freak out if Monday doesn't look like what you had in mind. You've been feeling the shift, having dreams that feel more like previews, and finding yourself getting ready for something you can't quite name. The promise is still there, even though the packaging is different. Consider how God guided the Israelites to freedom, not by the quickest path, but by the one that protected them from invisible danger. Exodus 13:17-18. Could it be that your delays were actually protection? That what appeared to be closed doors were actually holy detours? God doesn't need your reasoning to move. This is how divine alignment works. He just needs your trust. The path may seem strange, but the end will feel familiar. You will notice a difference, not because everything is noisy, but because everything feels suddenly calm. You will feel peace, not panic, assurance, or overthinking. You won't need to analyze the moment, because your soul will know it was written by the one who never misses a detail. This Monday, pay attention to the little things. Sometimes, a moment that seems too ordinary to draw notice, a postponed appointment, a stranger's remark, or an idea that strikes you out of the blue, is a sign from heaven. Will you be sensitive enough to recognize it? You are not ordinary. You are chosen. Your spiritual sensitivity, the capacity to see what others miss, to feel what others ignore, is not a weakness. Rather, it is your superpower. It is what enables you to perceive the divine in the ordinary, to discern purpose where others perceive routine, to hear God's whispers where others perceive noise. Those who achieve the highest success, even outside of the church, frequently talk about this inner knowing. This belief, that inner knowing, that sense of timing, is not just for poets. It's for you. What if the voice inside you is more accurate than the noise around you? This Monday may not have fireworks, but it will carry confirmation. Take the famous poet and civil rights activist Maya Angelou, who once said, "I believed that I had something to say, and I said it." As this Monday progresses, your emotions may rise in unexpected ways. Joy may rise without explanation, and tears may fall without warning. You will know it's divine, not because it's dramatic, but because it's undeniable. The shift will calm your soul. The moment will make sense, not with facts, but with faith. Additionally, your heart might feel the weight of something sacred. That's not weakness, that's recognition. The soul knows when destiny is close, and when the spirit senses arrival, emotion naturally follows. Could it be that these tears are not the result of sorrow, but of sacred alignment? This isn't just the beginning of another work week. It's your spirit standing tall and whispering, "We've arrived." It's this. After years of wandering, the Israelites finally crossed the Jordan River and entered the Promised Land. Joshua 3. This is your crossing moment. Although the landscape may appear unchanged, the atmosphere around you will bear witness to the fact that something has changed. What lies ahead will not only feel different, but it will be different. Your conversations will carry divine purpose. Your decisions will echo into rooms you haven't yet entered, and the favor that finds you will be confirmation of what your soul has been quietly holding on to all along, that God wasn't finished. The story is changing. The next scene is starting, and the spotlight has started to warm your skin. Think of Ruth, who diligently tended Boaz's field without realizing that God was preparing her for redemption, honor, and legacy behind the scenes. Ruth 2-4. She didn't strive. She served. And in doing so, she entered the spotlight that would place her in the lineage of Christ. He was merely creating a plot twist so profound that it could only come to pass in divine timing. Even the seasons that seemed pointless had purpose. Every scene in your story, even the ones written in agony, was not wasted. They were rehearsal. Every farewell, every silence, every seemingly inconsequential moment was God clearing the stage, returning the lights, and setting you up for this very entrance. Do you see how even your most basic acts of obedience have not gone unnoticed? In the words of Romans 8:18, the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that is to be revealed in us. Could your suffering have been merely the prelude to something glorious? Now that moment has arrived, and the air is charged with divine orchestration. This is not a time of confusion or fear. It's an orchestration moment, a moment of accuracy, a moment of holy momentum. You are no longer scurrying for position. You are no longer waiting to be seen. You already have the place because heaven gave it to you. This isn't about striving. It's about stepping. It's not about performance. It's about positioning. And that positioning is earned by alignment rather than applause. The stage is ready. The spotlight is no longer searching. It has found you. Isaiah 64:8. Do you realize that all of it, every detour, every redirection, was God practicing your rise? Everything that needed to be removed has already been removed. Everything that needed to be delayed has already been delayed. And everything that needed to be reshaped has been remolded in the hands of the potter. When the whole world is silent, even one voice becomes powerful. Nobel Peace Prize winner Malala Yousafzai once said, "You too are stepping into a moment that no one saw coming, but heaven always planned." Malala, who was shot for attending school, rose from a hospital bed to speak before nations. The lights are up, the audience is silent, and heaven is calling for your next act. All you need to do is step into it. This Monday isn't about convenience or comfort. It's about consecration. And it's not coming because the timing appears to be ideal. Have you not felt that quiet power rising within you? In the same way that God told Jeremiah, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." This is not an ordinary hour. Rather, it is a holy one. It has been designated, anointed, and marked for you long before you have ever set foot in it. Jeremiah 15. "And I set you apart before you were born." Something in the spiritual atmosphere will have changed. The air will feel charged. You will breathe differently. You will think differently. There will be no fireworks, but the silence will be sacred. This moment has also been set aside for your unveiling, your emergence, and your rise. You may wake up to the same ceiling, morning sky, and routine. It will be a day when you imagine life as a movie, but it will be a scene that feels like it was written for you and you alone. Without anyone speaking, your spirit will whisper, "This is it." Could it be that the most remarkable days start with stillness, pregnant with purpose, rather than with noise? This Monday, you don't steal the spotlight, you inherit it. The story demands your leadership now. You won't be unsure of your role. You won't feel like you have to shrink to avoid disturbing others, and you won't question whether you're worthy of being seen. Because this time, your calling on your life will be too loud to ignore, even in the quiet. You are being prepared for a moment like this, just as Queen Esther stood before the king for the sake of her people, knowing that she risked everything. Esther 4:14. Could it be that your courage has grown to the point where heaven now trusts you with more? And when the moment comes, because it will come, you might feel stunned. Your life's arc, your journey, and the trials you've endured have all led to this chapter. Try not to freeze in indecision, even though it might feel unreal. Don't ask yourself, "Am I really ready?" Because in reality, you already are. You have been prepared by fire, pressure, and quiet evenings when no one applauded. But God witnessed your faithfulness, and heaven will provide what you believe you are still lacking in real time. And my God will supply all your needs according to his riches in glory in Christ Jesus, as Philippians 4:19 promises. Doesn't that imply that even your uncertainty has already been taken care of? Where you feel weak, divine strength will rise. Where your words fail, the Spirit will speak for you. Where fear once paralyzed you, divine energy will now propel you forward. Even the way people perceive you will change. The eyes that once glanced past you will pause and gaze, and the doors that once appeared to be welded shut will swing wide. This is the time in your life when you are no longer waiting, walking, or hoping from the sidelines. You are moving with divine momentum. There will be eager invitations where there were once courteous excuses. But this isn't because people have suddenly become more giving. Rather, it's because you've stepped into a new frequency, aligned with the call on your life, and everything around you is now compelled to acknowledge it. This change has been observed even in the world outside of the church. What I've learned is you can't wait for someone else to validate your gift, said filmmaker and storyteller Tyler Perry, who once talked about how he used to sleep in his car while pursuing a dream that no one else believed in, but he stayed faithful and aligned himself with purpose. When the time came, the world took notice. The confidence you've been quietly building this Monday isn't about pushing things open. Rather, it's about realizing that you've stepped into such deep alignment with God's plan that the doors, the blessings, and the right people can't help but respond. You need to move and let God catch them up to what He already told you. There will be a stillness in the air, light that is almost imperceptible, like a gentle breeze brushing against your skin. But within it, a divine clarity will settle over you. You are in rhythm with destiny, not pulling on it. In that rhythm, mountains move, opportunities multiply, and heaven's orchestration plays louder than the doubts ever could. The day will unfold with choreography rather than chaos, and every moment will feel perfectly timed, like a scene from a film so meticulously crafted that it could only have been directed by God. You will know which actions to take next, which burdens to let go of, which words to speak, and which battles no longer require your sword. Only you will understand the sacred weight of what's happening, even though those around you may smile and think you're lucky. This is because you know the price of this peace. How many times you stood your ground while your world shook, how many nights you cried in front of no one, and how much it cost to remain faithful when nothing changed. Psalm 25:14 states, "The secret of the Lord is with those that fear Him, and He will show them His covenant." And now that hidden perseverance is bearing visible fruit, could it be that this stillness is not just a sign of rest, but of reward? This clarity is not the result of good timing, but of right posture. You didn't stumble into favor, you aligned with it. This isn't a coincidence, this is legacy. This isn't a coincidence, this is covenant. Every moment you believed to be a delay turned out to be a rehearsal. Every silence was a refinement fire. Every detour was a reroute toward destiny. And this Monday is the culmination of every unseen prayer and every act of obedience that no one else praised. You weren't in the right place by accident. Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison before becoming president of South Africa, once said, "I am not a saint unless you think of a saint as a sinner who keeps on trying." Mandela saw his experience as a revelation of destiny through suffering, and this should be taken into consideration whenever you choose to put your trust over fear. You know what it's like to bear the burden of unanswered prayers, closed doors, and intense loneliness. But all of it, the heartache, the silence, the sacrifice, was creating something eternal within you. Doesn't that echo the heart of the chosen ones? Those who fell, but refused to stay down. Those who continued to trust when all reason told them to give up. The true identity of a chosen one is something that cannot be replicated or accelerated. A divine substance, a warrior's heart, and a mind that no longer yields to fear. And this is what prepares you. Not perfection, but purification. Not perfection, but faithfulness. Not fame, but surrender. You need alignment, not a platform, to be powerful. The divine script has reached your scene, and all of heaven is leaning in, waiting to see how you will react. You have walked through fire. Now that alignment has pulled your moment to you like gravity. This is the hour. The curtain is rising, not because you forced it, but because your obedience has made the moment inevitable. You've been crushed, but now you're rising. The divine script of your life has reached the turning point, and the lights go down, the music rises, and the audience leans forward, not out of curiosity, but out of anticipation, because something is about to change. The main character, brave and battered, enters the scene that alters the story forever, and that main character is you. This Monday carries the energy of confirmation, not just of your gifts, but also of your resilience, your calling, and your identity. You will look around and recognize it, not with surprise, but with sacred familiarity. You are about to embark on a day that will redefine how others see you. But more importantly, it will solidify how you see yourself. This is the scene I dreamed of, the one you imagined in the dark corners of your mind, the one you once thought was too good for someone like you. And yet here it is, not because you pushed through doors or forced yourself, but because your spirit matched the beat of heaven, and your endurance became your magnet. Joseph was thrown into a pit, and then a prison. Isn't that the pattern of the greats in Scripture? You chose obedience when it was easier to take shortcuts. You sacrificed your ego for peace. You remained faithful in obscurity. You prayed when no one was looking. You prepared when nothing seemed to move. And now you're walking into what only patience and preparation could unlock. However, Joseph never stopped preparing. And when Pharaoh called him forward in Genesis 41, he was prepared. Not because he understood the timing, but because he understood the promise. Could this Monday be your Pharaoh moment? The divine summons that moves you from waiting to reigning. It's time. The moment has come. Don't shrink it. Don't dissect it. It's time to say yes, without fear stifling your voice. To believe that what's happening doesn't require your complete comprehension, just your complete trust, and that you don't need all the answers to take the step. You just need the confirmation. The waiting room becomes the throne room. And if God decides it's time for your silence to be turned into celebration, prepare to see what happens. Don't try to make it make sense. This isn't logic. It's legacy. It's not coincidence. It's covenant. What's coming isn't explainable. You won't have to force this moment. You won't have to campaign for it. The ordinary becomes sacred. What was once delayed becomes undeniable. A message arrives. A name is spoken in the right room. A door kicks, then bursts wide open, and a yes you didn't chase finds its way into your spirit and seals everything. This moment has your name written in invisible ink, visible only to heaven up to this point. And when it appears, don't question whether it's for you or not. It is. The assignment will find you because it was written for you, just like David was called in from the fields in 1 Samuel 16, when everyone else thought he didn't belong. And God never fails to fulfill his promises. Heaven is exact. You were never forgotten. You were being positioned. As the poet and civil rights activist Maya Angelou once remarked, "I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. Angelou overcame poverty, rejection, and trauma to become a global voice of strength and dignity. You won't have to work to prove your worthiness. This Monday won't be loud, but it will be legendary. The echo of your yes will ripple into dimensions you haven't even imagined yet. This is your scene. Have you not carried generations of pain and promise to reach this very moment? Aren't you stepping into something not just for yourself, but for those who will come after you? You have been carrying dreams that once seemed too big to describe, too sacred to share, visions so great that even putting them into words felt like betrayal, because no one would understand what God whispered to your spirit in the stillness. No one else can play it. No one else can replace it. It was etched into time for you. So now the heavens are watching. The angels are leaning forward, and the stage is yours. But now, this Monday, the fog starts to clear. The weight starts to reveal its purpose. The scenes start to fit together like puzzle pieces that never quite fit. And for years, those dreams didn't look like promises. They looked like burdens, heavy, isolating, misunderstood. Haven't there been seasons where it felt easier to doubt them than to keep carrying them? You weren't falling behind. You were being aligned. Heaven has been setting you up for the shot that changes everything, just like a director sets the stage for the ideal angle, light, and moment. Have you ever thought that every no, every moment of being missed was God subtly saying, "Not yet"? What once seemed like an endless delay now turns out to be divine editing. In Genesis 50:20, Joseph said, You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. Could it be that the very pain that attempted to bury you is now being used to elevate you? Don't be surprised when those who once rejected your calling want to work with it again. What if the rejection was protection rather than punishment? Consider David, the shepherd boy, who was chosen by God even though no one was invited to the anointing ceremony in 1 Samuel 16. Favor reverses the current, flips the script, rewrites the cast list, and hands you the lead. Don't be surprised if rooms that once excluded you now ask for your voice. We've seen this kind of reversal even on the international stage. Viola Davis, now an Academy Award-winning actress, once talked about how she grew up in extreme poverty and was ashamed of her situation. That's the energy of favor. It waits for you. It needs your presence. It rejects substitutes. And now the oil is about to flow in your direction. Isn't that the kind of transformation you've been sensing in your own story? What's coming next won't be subtle. She was ignored, typecast, and told her voice was too strong and her appearance too different for years. But she persisted in showing up and believing in the role she hadn't yet seen. Today, she stands as a global force, not because she changed herself, but because the world caught up to who she already was. Not just you, but everyone who is associated with you will feel the change. God is transforming you from obscure to prominent, from doubted to validated, from disregarded to divinely established. This is the point at which the script shifts and everyone will witness it. Not because you sought attention, but because you carried a purpose with honor while no one was looking. This isn't retaliation. The world is going to see what heaven already knew about you. And now, chosen one, you have to get ready for what is about to happen. Not just in terms of opportunity, but also in terms of responsibility. Because when the spotlight comes, the weight of influence comes with it. God isn't merely putting you in the spotlight to get praise. Are you prepared for favor that not only blesses you, but also changes everyone in your path? Jesus received the Spirit at his baptism, not to feel God's approval, but to start his mission. He is setting you up to change atmospheres, open doors for others, and be a walking manifestation of answered prayer. This Monday may be that moment for you, not only to be seen, but to be sent, because with favor comes assignment, and with open doors come divine instructions. Luke 3:21-22 describes a pivotal moment when the heavens opened, the Father spoke, and the Spirit descended. This will be about what you carry, not just what you get. What if you've been feeling pressured lately? Not because something is going wrong, but because God is stretching you to bear the weight of what's coming? You're being trusted with victory, visibility, and voice, each of which carries a unique spiritual weight. Consider Pope John Paul II, who was born Karol Wojtyła in Nazi-occupied Poland and survived war, assassination attempts, and communism to become one of the most adored worldwide spiritual leaders of the 20th century. The question is not whether you are qualified, because God qualifies the called, not the qualified. Do not be afraid, he once stated. The people around you may not fully comprehend the significance of what is changing, but your spirit does. Have you not also been prepared through adversity, positioned through adversity, and now asked to courageously enter through doors that only heaven could open? You've been practicing in the dark for this, and every no that strengthened your patience. That subtle urgency you've been feeling isn't anxiety. Rather, it's divine alertness. God is igniting something inside of you that was dormant, buried beneath disappointment and delay, and is now emerging, not for your fame, but for his glory. You're about to enter rooms you didn't apply for, get confirmations you didn't seek, and experience a boldness that comes from spiritual clarity rather than self-confidence. Every not yet that honed your discernment, every silent moment that taught you how to hear God without noise, and now the weight is becoming a witness. You were never merely preparing for a moment. Rather, you were being shaped to carry a mantle. Now that you've entered this new scene, chosen one, your role has changed. You are no longer merely enduring. You are governing. You are no longer surviving. The best part is that it won't feel forced. It will feel familiar, because you've always known this was coming. Favor didn't come to elevate your life. It came to establish your authority. Because divine elevation is about responsibility, not recognition. God has granted you access, but that access comes with awareness. Just as Nehemiah rebuilt Jerusalem's walls with one hand while wielding a sword in the other. Nehemiah 4:17. There is a new spiritual weight on your shoulders now, and it's not a burden. It's a mantle, the same kind of mantle that Elijah passed to Elisha to kings, and you are being called to build while defending, because what God just released in your life is precious, and not everything or everyone will celebrate it. Are you ready to protect what you've prayed for? Your sensitivity to the Spirit is more important than ever, because when Elisha received it, he inherited a legacy of impact, in addition to the power to perform miracles. Perhaps you are also receiving something generational, something that will have an impact that lasts beyond your lifetime. Discrimination, consecration, alignment, and other things that once seemed optional are now necessary. You are no longer walking as you were. Rather, you are walking as you were always intended to be, which entails protecting your time, your words, and your peace, because hell frequently sends diversions when heaven grants you territory. The oil speaks for itself. The change in how people treat you isn't pride, it's evidence. You're carrying something different now, and those around you will start to notice, even if they can't identify it. You don't owe your past explanations. You owe your future obedience. Conversations feel deeper all of a sudden. The mark of someone walking in divine authority is when opportunities feel more aligned, and your presence starts to disturb some and comfort others. This type of transformation is even seen in the natural world. Indra Nooyi, the former CEO of PepsiCo, once stated that she would spend time in silence before making significant leadership decisions, determining not only what to do, but also who she was becoming. Isn't that what you're being called into now? Not just to do more, but to become more. And don't be surprised if you start to feel misunderstood. Spiritual friction is often caused by divine elevation. Even Jesus, after returning to his hometown with miracles, was rejected by those closest to him. She led one of the biggest corporations in the world, not just with strategy, but with identity. Because they remembered his humanity, they were unable to accept his authority, but their comfort did not negate his calling. Should yours? God is putting you in places where your words have weight, where your presence opens doors, and where your discernment becomes protection, not just for you, but for those who are close to you. As you rise, remember this: you are not rising in place of others. Rather, you are rising to uplift others. The anointing on your life is contagious. Have you noticed how the people God brings to you now are more purposeful, more prepared, and more aligned? That is not random. It is reflection. They reflect who you are becoming. You're not just living your life. You're changing atmospheres. Now that you're walking in divine authority, chosen one of the biggest challenges you'll face is not opposition, but distraction. Your boldness will allow others to speak. Your stability will calm storms. Your obedience will set a new standard. The enemy will try to distract you from your goal when he can't destroy it. But this time, you won't fall for it. This is the time of year when you need to defend your peace with the same ferocity that you used to pursue your breakthrough, because peace is now your position. You are no longer in pursuit. You are in stewardship. What you once prayed for, you must now protect, not out of fear, but out of honor. Don't let comparison cloud your judgment. Don't let their speed divert you from God's rhythm. God didn't just put you here to be seen. He brought you here to be stable. After all, stability is the foundation of legacy. You must now carry yourself with spiritual intelligence, recognizing not just what looks good, but what is truly God. The oil on your life moves at its own pace. Just as Peter turned his head away from Jesus and started to sink when he saw the storm surrounding him, Matthew 14:30, so too will your confidence wane if your attention wanders. Can you stay focused even when the noise gets louder? Even King Solomon, who was renowned for his unparalleled wisdom, asked for understanding, a heart to distinguish right from wrong, rather than wealth or retribution. 1 Kings 3:9. And that one request gave him everything else. How many opportunities are just disguised distractions? Everything that glitters isn't gold, and everything that grows isn't God-planted. The people around you may start to change. Some may lean in with curiosity, while others may pull away in confusion. Don't take either personally. Elevation reveals hearts. You're not losing relationships, you're gaining revelation. It's possible that discernment, not ambition, is what keeps you at this next level. We observe this pattern even in leadership. Dr. Miles Monroe, the Bahamian pastor and world speaker, frequently taught, when purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. This means that you must not only understand your calling, but also its boundaries. God is not removing people from your life in order to harm you. Rather, He is editing your circle to maintain the purity of the next scene. Your life speaks, your presence speaks, your silence speaks, and when you move, heaven echoes. You are not just surviving attacks. You are now stewarding authority. You are walking as a voice of God in your surroundings. Not everything deserves your energy right now, and not everyone deserves access to this version of you. In order to sustain this holy momentum, you must remain grounded, avoid being addicted to attention, and avoid confusing praise for alignment. Favor is demonstrated by fruit, not by celebrity, and this season's fruit will come from staying rather than striving. You're not here to impress, to impact, to please crowds, to carry kingdom. Let the noise rage. Let the shadows whisper. Let the world speculate. Your job is not to explain your elevation. John 15:5 says, "If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit." Isn't that the kind of growth your spirit truly longs for? This season will not require more work. Rather, it will require more intimacy, deeper communion, sharper discernment, and quieter preparation. Because, while others seek visibility, you are being called to carry presence. And that chosen one is the difference between influence that fades and impact that echoes for generations. Your job is to embody it. You owe God consistency, not them clarity. You came here by pursuing God, not by pursuing praise. And in this next chapter, that fire needs to be protected more ferociously than ever. You have been chosen, and now that the mantle has found you, your greatest task is not proving you're ready, but maintaining the fire that brought you here. Listen carefully. Their comfort is not your confirmation. Their applause is not your task. You were called to be obedient, not to be understood. You will be tempted to shrink your rise, to make it more acceptable to those who only remember who you used to be. A prophet is not without honor except in his own town. Mark 6:4. If he was questioned, dismissed, and doubted, why would you expect your anointing to come without friction? However, the absence of applause isn't the absence of anointing. Even Jesus was rejected in his hometown after performing miracles and speaking truth with divine authority. It is proof of assignment, because as your calling deepens, your circle becomes quieter. Not everyone can accompany you on your journey, and that is not a punishment, but rather a form of protection. You are no longer driven by outside approval. You have grown past the need for continual reminders, and your yes is no longer conditional. This is where you have to learn to live not by sight, but by seal. You have already been sealed by heaven. Ephesians 1:13. You don't need another sign. Your faith is no longer dependent on the number of signs you see. You've reached the point where obedience is your rhythm, even when the heavens appear to be quiet. And that kind of obedience terrifies the enemy. The approval of heaven is already imprinted on your story, so you don't need the crowd's response to feel chosen. Therefore, you need to protect your oil. Don't waste it explaining. Don't dilute it defending. And don't pour it where there is no demand for the sacred. In Matthew 25, the 5 wise virgins guarded their oil because they knew the bridegroom would show up out of the blue. Even those who were celebrated in the world had to walk alone before the world understood them. Steve Jobs, co-founder of Apple, was once fired from his own company, rejected, and misunderstood. And when he did, only those who had kept their flame alive made it into the next season. Could it be that your next elevation depends on how well you protect what you carry rather than what you do? This is the time to burn quietly, to let your private altar be stronger than your public platform, to fall so deeply into God's presence that when people question your path, your peace will answer for you. He sharpened his vision in the wilderness instead of begging to be welcomed back. And when the time was right, he returned to rebuild a legacy rather than seek applause. Isn't that the kind of resilience being formed in you? Stay low in posture, but high in expectation. Walk softly, but carry fire. Move slowly, but carry weight. For when the time comes again, which it will, your inner life must be stronger than the pressure of external visibility. You are not waiting for man's approval to move. You have already been commissioned by God. Being next is no longer an option. You have been chosen. You are currently developing a quiet strength that cannot be developed in a crowded setting. It develops in solitude, in the hidden location, and during those extended periods of time when no one claps, calls, or checks in. Is it possible that your current silence is actually holy ground? You are not being punished. Have you noticed that God frequently accomplishes his most profound work when no one else is around? This is the sacred wilderness, the same kind that Moses walked through before leading a nation, the same kind that Jesus endured for 40 days prior to his public ministry, and the same kind that David traversed with just a harp, some sheep, and God's presence. What man considers a funeral is actually a seed, and seeds don't cry for attention. They go deep in the dark, in the unknown, until the roots are strong enough to bear the weight of the fruit. You are being planted, and planting never looks spectacular. It looks like burial, like disappearance. You must fall in love with the process, not just the promise. Fall in love with the mornings no one sees, with the worship that has no band, with the tears that have no audience. Because this is where your oil is pressed. Are your roots growing now? Is God stretching your inner life so your future won't collapse under visibility? The power of obedience is demonstrated by Jesus, who did not skip Gethsemane. In that garden, surrounded by sleeping disciples, he sweated drops of blood, not from pain, but from pressure. And yet he said, "Not my will, but yours be done." Luke 22:42. This is where your strength is forged. You are not preparing for applause, but for longevity. Are you willing to remain obedient, even if it means becoming invisible? For the chosen one, being invisible is not inconsequential. Rather, it is insulation, which is how God maintains the purity of the flame while it is still forming. This is not the case when it is easy, but rather when it costs you visibility, comfort, and your former identity. He will reveal it when it is ready, neither too soon nor too late. Even in the world, the most influential people were initially misunderstood. Florence Nightingale, a wealthy woman, shocked her aristocratic family by choosing to help the sick and dying during the war, working in silence with scandalous humility and receiving harsh criticism. But that is what you are carrying now. Quiet power, hidden brilliance, sacred conviction. You don't need to be loud when your life speaks. It will. She revolutionized modern nursing through her private, tireless work. History didn't recognize her because she demanded it, but it couldn't ignore her because of the fruit. When the time is right, the God who has seen you in secret will reward you publicly. Matthew 66 says that this reward will not be material possessions, but rather the fulfillment of purpose, the clarity of identity, and the unstoppable peace of knowing that you were faithful when no one else was looking. Therefore, don't rush your revealing, don't resent your pruning, and don't hate the isolation. All of this is making you durable. Your anointing is not fragile. It is maturing. You are becoming one of the chosen. If this message has stirred your spirit, it is because heaven is echoing what you have already been sensing. Your time is now. This is about walking, not waiting. This is your sacred silence. Don't shrink. Don't question. Don't try to explain it away. You've survived the crushing. You've endured the silence. You obeyed when no one was applauding. And now God is saying, step forward. The stage has already been set. The oil has already been poured. And the assignment has already been written with your name on it. Because when heaven orders your path, even the ground beneath your feet becomes holy. Let the doors open. Let the favor flow. You have already been commissioned by Christ. You need no crowd confirmation. Your obedience has brought you to this threshold, and your faith will carry you across it. You don't need to know every step. You just need to take the next one. If this message finds you, declare it. Comment 707 below as a sign of agreement, alignment, and awakening. Let heaven and earth know I am ready. If you feel led, we invite you to support this message by super thanks. Let the divine timing align everything that once seemed lost. You are not chasing the moment. You are the moment. Your presence here matters. Your spirit matters. And your calling is priceless. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe, and share this message with someone who might be on the verge of their breakthrough, not realizing that this Monday is the day everything changes thing. Every gift, no matter how small, helps us reach more of God's chosen ones around the world. But even if you don't give, thank you. Heaven is watching. Earth is changing. Your scenario is playing now. You are covered. You are called. You are rising. God bless you, chosen one. We'll see you in the next message.